There's our topic today, divorces and closings. I know everybody in here watching this today has probably represented somebody going through a divorce or in the middle of divorcing. And so did you know that 50% of all listings involving somebody going through a divorce or very recently divorced winds up closing not with the first listing agent, but the second or third? Why is that? Why is there a 50% chance that you're going to lose that listing? Well, I'm going to have Sarah Bennett joining me today, and she is from Better Homes and Garden here in Columbia, Medley Realty, and we're going to go through all of the issues involving people going through divorce, whether it's they're going through a divorce, they just recently divorced, or even if they divorced 10 years ago, and how that affects your representation as well as how it affects closing. We're going to talk about what happens when one person decides they're not going to sign the documents, they're not going to cooperate, they're not going to do what they're required to do by the final order from the divorce decree, or what happens when they're arguing about how we're going to split the money or who's going to pay for the repairs. So we're going to talk about that. The other issue we're going to talk about, big issues in this, are title issues and what happens when you have someone come to the closing and you say, where's your spouse? And they're like, oh, well, we've been divorced for 10 years. They live out in Boise, Idaho. I don't have anything to do with them anymore. And you're like, but they're on title. Their own title. So we have to get a deed from them. They have to sign the documents, and they'll say, well, we have a divorce decree that says I own the property. Well, the divorce decree does not take care of that. We have to have the deed. And so you don't want a situation where you're sitting there and spent all this time, money, effort, marketing property, only to find out that the person you're working with is only one half of the equation and the other person is refusing to cooperate. Those are matters we need to deal with and address much, much earlier than the closing table. So we're going to discuss all of those issues, how we handle them, and things you need to look at. So it's a great video, or actually a great podcast that you need to listen to this week, because it really is going to hammer on those issues. We also have a new episode on Gary's Good News Only. That's going to be really good. But we also have another episode on what happened while you were out showing. And it talks about some of your educational requirements for this year, how you're going to be able to get the education, what your due dates are going to be, as well as some other topics that you need to know about. So take a listen to this. We'd really appreciate it. It's a great podcast. If you also would do us a favor, if you like it, subscribe, and please share it with other agents. We are almost, I think, about 4,000 or 5,000 listens now in just a couple of months. So we're very excited about how it's growing. And then lastly, if you're looking for any copies of these videos, whether it's Gary's Good News Only, our legal tips, or information about the podcast, if you'll look at the link below, this is our link to YouTube. We have a brand new YouTube page. It's really well done. And every video we've ever done on all the legal topics are right there. So if you're trying to find an answer to an old question, or if you remember that we did a legal tip on that, take a look at the YouTube page and you should be able to find everything that you're looking for. Hope everybody has a great weekend, and we really appreciate you guys listening to our podcast.